I've lived in Hertford for 35 years, and 20 years ago I was asked would I come and speak about being an immigrant into this lovely town and county. And it was quite an impassioned talk at the time because I really felt different. And I guess where I am now, these 20 years gone, is I really consider myself part of the fabric of Hertford, the county, and of generations now. And I see things probably through a unique lens, not just because I come from a business perspective, and I suspect many people in the room now are here because you're residents as opposed to being in business, but you will have been in business, you will have worked in businesses, and they all kind of intersect. But what I did want to tell you is I'm 4 years older than Hertford Civic Society. It started in 1969 and I started in 1965, so there you go. I also wanted to mention that I'm a member of the Civic Society along with my husband, who's in the audience, and we primarily became interested because of things like the campaigning that the society does on behalf of listed heritage buildings and planning, amongst other things. And it's really important. This town, this county, this country, it's so much older than the country I come from. I come from Canada originally, and here's how I came to Hertford, just to share some perspective. I got a globe with a girlfriend, and we spun it, and we said we never really go on anywhere on holiday, and we graduated from university, and she said wherever we put our finger on the globe, we're going to go on holiday. So we did that. Do you know where it ended up? Nepal. Nepal, the Himalayas. I said, quickly, spin again. No. She said, we're going. And much to our parents, better judgment, they said, oh, right, go. It's a long way away. Anyway, long story longer, I met a chap walking as we climbed the Annapurna mountain range to 15,000 feet, where I was quite altitude sick. And he said, would you like to visit Hertford? And I said, Hartford, Connecticut's not very far from where I live. To which he replied, no, the original one. At any rate, so I've been here for 35 years. We have 3 children. At one point, I don't know if anybody's done a school run to 3 different towns, to 3 different schools with 3 different children. And it really, again, it gave me another education about the breadth and variety of our county. So I had a son at Bishop Stortford, another one in Hertford, and then my daughter was in Ware. And actually, if you've ever tried to do that east-west connectivity across the county, a little bit challenging. And so often when we're talking about business, about some of the challenges, it is actually just transport connectivity. Anyway, so that's a little bit of a background of me, and I giggle because I love being here. And I think of myself as one of the biggest ambassadors for tourism. And thank you, Visit Britain, because I wasn't, what was it called again, Nick? It wasn't a jet setter, it was a set jetter. I was the other one. I was the person who jet setted. I came, I liked it so much, and I stayed. So I encourage you all to embrace and love Hertford, because I do. But what I would tell you is that this country, this town has afforded me the most amazing career. I've traveled all over the place and met Michael Jackson and Uri Geller and flown on private jets. And I just think this is about sometimes positive mental attitude about what we can do to embrace businesses, visitor economy. And enough about all that. To tell you a little bit more about the Chamber of Commerce. We mentioned the number of businesses and so on. In one of the publications, the one that has got the current High Sheriff, if you know the High Sheriff, that's Annie Brewster. She appears on the front of Inspire 62. And it's really fascinating. We don't know what we don't know. On pages 4 and 5, you'll see a list of the top privately run businesses in the county that generate a significant amount of income for Hertfordshire. Now, of course, alongside that, we have really big public sector employees like Hertfordshire County Council, the NHS, the University of Hertfordshire, and so on. But privately run businesses and SMEs are the lifeblood of our economic base in the whole of the United Kingdom. And this roller band I brought along because I clearly don't have a PowerPoint to show you in this instance. But it does show you a little reflection of the types of businesses. Now here in Hertford, many of you will know Longmore Solicitors. There's their logo. And they've been a chamber patron for many years. But you'll also note, and you've got Austin's Funeral Services there in the town as well. But also there are organizations such as the Ministry of Defense, Elstree Studios, we're talking about visitor economy and so on. So this ecosystem means it's every type of business that's involved. And I guess from a Chamber of Commerce point of view, I mentioned 100 years old. We need to remain relevant. We need to remain the place where people come to get signposted and to connect, collaborate, and grow, as our strapline goes and so on. In that, I personally sit on a couple of different boards, and it's fascinating. And it's not all about East Herts, and it's not all about Hertford, because we represent the whole of county. We're accredited by the British Chamber of Commerce. But it does give you a flavor of what's happening in different areas. So I sit on an economic development board for Broxbourne Council. And as already has been mentioned, the creative sector is really one of the top sectors for our county, because not just because of all the names you've heard, but also Sunset Studios. Is anybody driven by on the crossroads of the M25 and the A10? And they've down tools at the moment. They're paused at the minute. So I think we don't know entirely when that's going to be brought back up, but there are lots of industries that are quite of the moment, and they're very popular, and yes, it's driving tourism, but we also have to have a balance. And the balance is also things like defense. We've got Airbus, we've got MBDA in Stevenage, we've got industries such as professional services. They're actually our largest sector for industry. So you think about the accountants, the solicitors, the IFAs, the banks. They're all really important for professional services. We've also got life sciences, cell and gene, that's Stevenage. I don't know if anybody knows about Farmeron. They're based on the old MSD site in Broxbourne, or in Hoddesdon, I should say. So there's lots going on there, amongst others. And going back to the magazine article that I just mentioned, there's a report by Grant Thornton called Hearts Limited, and those businesses that are mentioned in there are broken down by sectors, and we as a chamber support those sectors. So you may or may not be aware, there are sector summits that support supply chain. So we talked about trying to perhaps encourage tourists to spend more when they're at venues and so on. We have a campaign called Keep the Heart in Hertfordshire. And what it means is, and even maybe in your own lives, if you're going to go and spend money on having something repaired, or, investing in new luggage, whatever it is, why not make sure it comes from a Hertfordshire supplier, so that we're helping ourselves? Does that make sense? It's so easy to shop online, isn't it? And I'm not, not disrespecting online, and retail is important, food, drink and leisure, all of those industries. A lot of us do it online. But actually, there's nothing nicer, I don't think, than going in and seeing and meeting and greeting those independent businesses that really make a difference to my experience, customer experience. So anyway, we encourage that. We also have a Get Green and Grow campaign, and that campaign is, again, trying to help us all become a little bit more environmentally aware, trying to achieve those net zero targets, and we've all got a responsibility for that. I'm very pleased to say, well, I didn't actually, I was going to say I walked today because I could walk, but it's making those decisions to do things sometimes that are a bit better for the environment and so on. Has anybody heard of the Love Hertford Awards? A couple of years ago. I don't know if they're still running. Are they, Jan? Do you know if they're still running? Yeah, I was a judge on those awards, and it's absolutely fascinating to see who's going the extra mile, who's putting the effort in, and all the rest of it, and to support those industries. So that's what I would say for the independents. I've just come from the University of Hertfordshire, where I chaired an AI summit, artificial intelligence. The question that I asked the audience there, because it was pretty interesting, is how many people have used ChatGPT? Wow. And the next question I asked that audience is, how many people use ChatGPT every day? So the response from this audience is completely different. The audience I spoke to there, I would say 80% have used it, and I was one of the ones that haven't used it. And sorry?
is it?
Fabulous. I don't know actually what the initials stand for, but it's an artificial intelligence that allows you to ask it questions and to perform functions for you that are automated responses. So for instance, I think you said yourself, Nick, you're going to go on holiday and you might traditionally, do some Googling or looking or speak to a travel agent. Instead, you just talk into the computer, into this software program and say, create an itinerary for Hertfordshire. I want to visit and I want to be there for a week. Where will you take me? And it will design a whole itinerary from the computer. Do you see what I mean? And I think it's really interesting because our children and our children's children, that's their normal go-to. Does that make sense? Has anybody ever used ChatGPT in here?
I think a lot of people have been using AI without realizing it. Because if you sit down to your computer and do a search in the search engine, then you used to get just a lot of text coming up.
Yeah.
Now you get much more pictures and videos, but also fairly high up in the search, you get some answers. Where do they come from? Some AI engine. I don't know whether it's ChatGPT or not.
I'm not an expert in the field, but
Everybody here would have seen that, but didn't realize it was AI.
And maybe that's a subject matter for another talk for the future, because I think what happens is if we're not aware of those technologies and what's going to happen moving forward, and that's why the Chamber tries to be relevant by bringing in specialist speakers, not just me, I compare those events. But the point is, how can we bring along the rest of these kinds of groups into that discussion, perhaps attract some new members in if we're not aware of it? I guess that's what I'm saying. And I'm always learning. You know that expression, lifelong learner? I'm definitely one of those. So going back to the Chamber, we help support a number of organizations, businesses and sectors, but we also work very closely with stakeholders. Hertfordshire County Council, the 10 local authorities. Yes, absolutely, visit Herts. Absolutely, we work with the Lord Lieutenant, the High Sheriff, and on it goes. And no 2 days are the same. What I would say is I think there are opportunities and there are also challenges within the county, as have been mentioned previously. But I wanted just to share with you, even in Hertford, some of the businesses that are involved with us. And unless you go beyond the high street, you don't even know what exists. Can I just ask a show of hands, how many people ever worked in Hertford, or do currently work in Hertford? So it's not very many. Oh, hi, so we can see. Right, where did everybody else work or do work? London or?
Yeah, London, yeah.
Wow, so a big proportion of people worked in London.
Northern City.
Oh, fairly close. It's not Hertford, but it's fairly close, yeah. But it is interesting because, of course, we've got the draw of London, and we are a commuter belt into there. But I just wanted to mention locally some of our members. Fluorocarbon. Anybody ever heard of fluorocarbon? I think they were the largest single highest employer in Hertford, but a lot of people have never heard of them. Coatings for pans and aircraft industry and all the rest of it. McMullins. They run pubs and, other brands are available. Longmore Solicitors I've mentioned. Hertford Music Festival. Did anybody ever go to the music festival? Yeah, they're one of our members as well. Austin's Funeral Services I've mentioned. Cariad Marketing, an amazing marketing company that are growing great knots. But these are businesses that are set behind the high street that you wouldn't normally see, and they're making up our economy. Also, Handelsbanken. Ever heard of Handelsbanken? Yeah, they're up at the Mercedes Foxholes Business Park. Croft Communications. Hertford Rugby Club? Yeah, they're one of our members. And then all of the venues that were referred to in Nick's presentation, those venues rely on the economic ecosystem of what the Chamber is. So virtually all of them we've used. 3rd of December, we're going for a Christmas lunch to Penley Manor. 200 businesses are going to join us. Harry Potter World, for 2 years in a row, we had our Inspiring Hearts Business Awards. And it was fascinating because people are intrigued. Was it me? Well, as if by magic, Harry Potter and his, broom have come into our world. At any rate, so all of these types of businesses are really important. To mention a little bit about the challenges, something we hear pretty regularly from all businesses of all sizes is attracting the right skills is their biggest challenge right now. I don't know if that resonates, if you've heard that from your own businesses, colleagues, friends, and so on. And again, I don't know how many of you have ever been asked, oh, could you help my son, my grandson, my nephew, my neighbor get some work experience? It's really hard to get work experience now. And I think that's a health and safety issue. I think it's many different issues, but it's tricky. So we have to be there to try and help younger people, people that want to upskill and all the rest of it. I've written down also some challenges. We've got an aging population. We've got challenges on the people post-COVID that want hybrid working. I don't know if you felt it. I feel like the roads are busier again. It feels like people are going back into offices, and I don't necessarily have all the data for you on that. But I think there are people that want to go tech-free, and they want to be able to have a balanced lifestyle, which is not working full-time in an industry every day, going into work and sitting on the road. So those are some of the challenges. I think also we've got geopolitical challenges that we all know about because we turn on the news every night and we hear about those as well. However, the opportunities, what I love about this county. Have you ever heard of a little old company called Hotel Chocolat? Yeah. Amazing. Born and bred in Hertfordshire, and their offices are in Royston, amongst others. And I had the great pleasure, I don't know if anybody ever came to HEN, Hertford Entrepreneurs Network, which used to be at the castle. No, nobody. Look how old I am. I've just been around the block too long. Anyway, we had a wonderful series of guest speakers coming. And they talked about this crazy idea of having a chocolate company and a bit Willy Wonka and going to the banks and saying, please invest some money, some capital so that I can buy some machinery and do these things. And the bank said no. So do you know what they did? They did something which was about going out to their current customers and saying, if you give us £2,000, all of you, we'll pay you an interest every month in chocolate. And at the end of the term, we'll give you your money back. Does that sound okay? I say, yes, it does. Anyway, they raised something like 1.3 million on the first round, another 1.3 million, and would you believe something like 95% of those customers said, we don't want our funding the 2,000 back, just keep paying us in chocolate. And that started they've got a subscription service, if you know Hotel Chocolate. And I just love stories like that. And I think they sold out 30% of their business recently to Mars for a considerable amount of money. Oh, there's another little company called Ocado. Anybody heard of that one? Fascinating. 3 guys, I think this is right, sort of from Hemel Hempstead, X-City, set up Ocado. And for those who think it's a grocery delivery business, it's really not. It's a tech business. And when you go into their offices in Hatfield, or when you go and see the robotics, and you can go online and, you know, Google, look at one of the fulfillment centers for Ocado, this ingenuity, this kind of brave entrepreneurship came from Hertfordshire. So there's so much to be proud of, and I'm just trying to see if I can refer to some other case studies. Born Leisure, they own a lot of holiday camps, if you think about them. They too are based here. Lamex Foods, probably some of you have never heard of Lamex. Again, in that article I told you about the top 100, they actually are the single largest supplier of chicken to KFC, pretty sure globally, and they own Stevenage Football Club. So do you see what I mean? Like sometimes something affects something else, but it starts from a place of feeling you've got an opportunity, and that's Hertfordshire. I just want to mention the couple of summits that we've run through this year to support the industries that are driving the economy. They include artificial intelligence, we've talked about a little bit already, advanced manufacturing and engineering. We've also run a creative sector at Sky Studios, property and construction, because we're very strong in that in this county, and life sciences, as we mentioned. And I think if I was somebody, and I do work in business, but if I was somebody being aware and conscious of the marketing opportunities for businesses to keep them growing and thriving and all the rest of it, I would look at doing a couple of things. I would look at raising my profile through joining a collective like the Chamber of Commerce. We're membership based. We ask people to come and join us in that regard. We have all the charities virtually in the county. We have SMEs, we have sole traders, and very large organizations, as you can see there. But come together to really showcase and be inspired by some of the speakers that we have. I think it's really too easy. I don't know if you agree with me, to be a bit down about what's happening. The world's full of bad news. And I'm not saying it's going away, and I'm not saying that we should ignore it. But actually, there's an awful lot to be optimistic about. And you kind of, success breeds success, if you know what I mean, when you're around those kinds of individuals and so on. And I think that we had a lot of battles post-COVID, and a lot of businesses suffered. But actually, there have been a lot of new innovation. I've just come from the University of Hertfordshire, and to listen to students and to talk to them about some of their inventions is very inspiring. Also, we have a great number of King's Awards winners and Queen's Awards winners. Are you familiar with those awards? It's like a stamp of approval amongst other things, and that really helps uplift businesses. And I think here we are. We're at the Civic Society, and we've got a fantastic audience. But I'm presuming we want to grow. I'm a member, right? We want to grow. So the way to grow sometimes is to spread the communications via these things called social media. And appreciate not everybody's into it, but actually that's how the next generation are kind of getting some of their content. So I think tonight, with everybody's permission, I don't know, Jan, we should do one great big photo of everybody, and we should showcase that we've come together. Oh, well, you don't have to be in a picture if you don't want to be, but I'm just thinking it's a way of expressing and communicating to people, look what you could be involved with, because I'm really proud of where I come from. I hope you're really proud of where you come from, and thank you for your time.